Welcome to today's webinar presented by Software Technology Group. Our commitment at STG is to facilitate the transformation of businesses and technology organizations through innovation and optimization. We are excited to have you as part of our audience. Our goal for this webinar is to provide valuable insights and ignite ideas that can benefit your organization. Thank you once again for joining us.
Welcome. My name is Mel Tingey. I am the Chief Technology and Strategy Officer at Software Technology Group. We are a software consulting firm located in Salt Lake City, Utah, serving clients all throughout the United States. Today, our webinar is on the topic of AI corporate policy considerations. I know this is a this is a very interesting topic for some. For others, it doesn't mean anything, but I can guarantee for many individuals, many CTOs, general counsel folks, organizations that are stepping into the AI space, setting an effective and well-functioning AI policy for the organization is a really, really big deal. So let's jump in. I want to do a brief introduction on who we are at Software Technology Group. We are a business and technology strategic technology company located in Salt Lake, and we help organizations with a lot of different technology services. We've been in business since 1996. Started out in the staff augmentation world, providing engineers on contract opportunities for them to come in and help an organization for 6 months, a year and a half, whatever, do their work. We then added project-based work where we would take on an entire project for an organization. And then over the last couple of years, we've stepped into more strategic consulting, doing fractional CTO work and business technology strategic advising. So Crystal Peterson is our CEO, Craig Christensen, our Executive Vice President over sales, and myself, Mel Tingey, the Chief Technology and Strategy Officer. At the behest of our lawyers, our legal disclaimer, I am not a lawyer, and so this is really important that we provide this legal disclaimer up front. So nothing I'm going to share today should be construed as formal legal advice. By listening to this presentation, you agree to hold STG harmless for anything you may or may not incorporate into your policy from this presentation. STG does recommend that before you formalize your own corporate AI policy, that you have a licensed attorney or in-house counsel provide advising and validation for your policy. Okay, let's jump in. I want to start today from the perspective of artificial intelligence in the world today. There's obviously a lot of buzz happening. You can't hardly open up any sort of trade magazine or trade article in tech or business and not have some topic of artificial intelligence come up around ways that it's being used or ideas or issues or concerns or fears. It's everywhere worldwide, and it's very real in the context of what it's doing for organizations in a very profound way. We want to state very clearly that AI is definitely here to stay. It's not going to go away. Right now, there's different organizations that, for a variety of reasons, are saying AI is not for us. It's not going to be part of our business. Very similar things happened when the telephone was invented and entered into business. When the web browser and the internet entered into business in the late 90s, there were organizations who, in a very kind of funny way, said, well, we're just not going to do that. And our recommendation is that just like those two predecessors, telephones and the internet, AI is here. And so even though you may not think it's going to be a part of your organization, in many ways it probably already is. You probably already got employees that are using ChatGPT in various activities in their jobs. And so it's definitely something that, from a corporate perspective, you've got to make sure you get your arms around and be well-versed and understand what the implications are for your organization. We recommend that you be very transparent in your usage of AI with your employees and your customers. Create a culture where AI openness at all levels in your organization exists. and make the disclosure of AI usage a very normal and expected part of your culture. So, one thing we recommend, we worked with one organization and we said, if you stand up and do a presentation and you cite a source, it's very normal and natural at the very bottom of the slide or in your document, in your write-up, to give credit for the location or reference where you found that information. And we're essentially recommending that when you use AI to start putting together ideas, strategy, a presentation, some information, teach and kind of create an example within the organization that if you use AI to do so, disclose it. It builds credibility. It helps people understand that it's normal and natural for people to be doing it, and that you also kind of remove that stigma that somebody feels like they've got to hide their usage of AI and not disclose that they're doing those activities, because they probably already are. Keep in mind as you move forward, AI cannot be contained. What I mean by that is that we're already seeing the proliferation of AI models moving forward at a very rapid pace, and the information that's being pulled into those large language models is there. It's not going away. There's no way to scrub it or remove it. And so it's really important that you understand from a policy perspective how you're going to be moving data into AI models and pulling data out, so that you're mindful in that regard. So the next is, when you write your policy, be mindful of the motivators or demotivators that will be created for your organization as a result of AI policy. Don't write them so restrictive that people feel like they can't use them, but at the same time, don't write them so liberal that you get yourself into hot water. We recommend that you review and update your policy about every 8 to 12 months. Things are moving fast enough that maybe even every 6 months, do a quick refresh and review. Things might be added into other ideas, other usage, use cases. Right now, the EU is leading out in AI policy from a legal perspective. So there's some things you can keep an eye on there. The United States is fast coming up to speed in that regard, but there's a number of states that are already passing AI legislation, and we'll get to that in the presentation later. But the point is that things are moving along fast enough that you're going to want to review and update your AI policy fairly frequently, much more frequently than other policies in your organization. Just a quick sampling of where AI is currently being used quite heavily. Legal, there's an organization right here in Utah, Filevine, that is just skyrocketing in growth because of how they're having AI read and propose, draft write-ups of legal documents. IT, of course, hospitality, fashion, transportation, the design, graphic design, marketing, healthcare, sales automations, different things. Some places where we don't see AI being widely used at this point is in law enforcement, food service, education, and certain parts of healthcare, which is kind of interesting, where certain things are not happening. Our prediction is that it's going to enter into almost every sector, within the next 10 years, but kind of interesting that these haven't really fully seen wide-scale usage to date. Okay, let's jump in. Some initial AI considerations to think about. And one of the things that we recommend is that you if you're using ChatGPT or some large language model like that, we recommend actually sitting down with that tool and piping in some of these considerations, and then asking AI to actually write your corporate policy. You'll be amazed at the level of sophistication and completeness that it'll give you in your first draft to at least kind of get the ball rolling. We've worked with a number of companies, and I always say start there, and a lot of times where they end up is not far off from what AI will give you. The difference that's going to happen between organizations are the kinds of considerations you're going to put in that are specific to your business. Obviously, you want to track intellectual property complexities. Anything that you have, you don't want to be moving in, that you're creating policy to protect that. Confidentiality, liability. If you're using it in any sort of recruiting process, you want to make sure that you're avoiding bias and discrimination. And then if you're working internationally in your business, there's definitely EU level considerations and other country considerations that need to be thought of. And then with your cybersecurity insurance, we're already seeing that some of those insurance providers are either wanting to rewrite your cybersecurity policy, or they're putting exclusions in there that will hold them harmless if AI is used in an inappropriate way. So it's really important to take a good look at what your cybersecurity contract looks like and how that will be potentially impacted by your usage of AI. This slide deck and this presentation, definitely feel free to take screenshots. If you want a copy of it, feel free to reach out to anyone here at STG, and we can get you a copy as well if you want to get a copy of the presentation. Okay, so jumping into the U.S. policy laws and whatnot around AI. These states, Alabama, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Louisiana, New Jersey, New York, North Dakota, Texas, Vermont, and Washington all have AI policy law information on the books. The items that I bolded there I have taken it a little bit further, and it's good that if you're doing work in these states or working with them, that you take the time to read those. I put in here the bill numbers in each of those areas. You can Google them pretty easily as well. Okay, AI and data privacy, security. A lot of times what happens in an implementation of an AI solution in business, a lot of times it happens with like your support group or marketing, where you're pumping information in to a large language model and then receiving information back out. You want to be mindful of what data is being collected and moved between your systems and an AI model. What do those integrations look like? What are the data points that are being used? Because you want to be careful to not ever allow any PII data to flow in those regards. It needs to be genericized in a way that then the information that comes back out is then merged with anything appropriate for an email or things like that it doesn't actually go into the large language model AI. The policy should clearly articulate your compliance to these data protection laws and regulations in your respective industry and country. We definitely recommend that you do disclaimers of the AI content. So I mentioned a moment ago about creating a culture within your organization where people feel very comfortable and acknowledge, when they use AI in ideation or the preparation for a presentation, things like that. But from a very formal structure, whether if it's something you're doing in writing, or if it's verbal, like I just shared, or if it's within a system, there needs to be a disclaimer structure provided that the content was generated by artificial intelligence. And the URL link there at FizeWorld.com has some really great templates and examples of templates for AI-generated content that you can use. Okay, and then just like we ask most organizations will ask their employees to do a conflict of interest disclosure, our recommendation around AI is that you also ask your employees to provide a disclosure of any interest that they have in an AI company. Now, if they're invested in some large 401k mutual fund, probably not that important. But if they're a primary investor or if they're doing a large investment in an AI organization, probably a good thing that you be aware of it. And then we also recommend that you ask your employees to disclose all the accounts they use for any work-related AI activities. Obviously, if they're doing something on the side, that might be outside the bounds, but for things they do at work, they should let you know what those accounts are. Okay, the last section here is specific around the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act. It's quite robust, it's quite complete. We highly recommend you at least read the summary of the act. That typically takes about an hour or so to get through just the summary. The detail behind it is hundreds of pages of information. that may, you may need to dive into specific parts of it, but for the most part, we found most organizations can get a good broad understanding of how to be compliant with the European Union by reading the summary and following accordingly within their policy. So a couple of things within the Act. They clearly do a classification of unacceptable risk being prohibited, particularly around social scoring systems and any manipulative AI, which in a very real way, we're already seeing social scoring activities happening in China and other places. It's very real. It isn't like, that this is some science fiction kind of thing. AI is definitely pushing into society in that way, and the EU essentially says that is an unacceptable risk and it is prohibited in that space. And quite frankly, just the moral compass that's within most of us, we should, obviously steer away from that. Most of the AI text within the Act addresses high-risk AI systems which are regulated within the EU, so it's good to read the details of that. And there's a smaller section that handles limited risk AI, subject to a lighter level of transparency obligation. So developers they just need to ensure that end users are aware that they're interacting with AI, so that they can then appropriately, make decisions around, their interface or their interaction with what's happening. You see this a lot within chat bots, where oftentimes it'll say, that you're interfacing or talking with a chat bot, but then when it switches over to a live agent, it'll let you know. Those things should be disclosed within the technology, and that smaller section is really focused on the kind of the developer's responsibility in software building that you do those things. And then there's a classification for minimal risk AI that is currently unregulated. General purpose AI, or GPAI, these model providers must provide technical documentation and instructions for use and comply with the copyright directive and publish a summary about the content used for training. So if you're in an organization and you're providing that kind of general purpose AI, what they're saying is you've got to provide some documentation and some structure and information behind this, what's behind it, so that people understand what's really going on. Free and open license GPAI model providers only need to comply with the copyright and publish the training data summary unless they present a systemic risk. And they left that last part, systemic risk, because they're definitely anticipating as AI moves forward, things are going to begin to happen with AI that they may not foresee at the current time. All providers of general purpose AI models that do present systemic risk, open or closed, must also conduct model evaluations, adversarial testing, track and report serious incidents, and ensure cybersecurity protections. And then the last part talks about the prohibited AI systems. So anyway, that kind of wraps up the AI corporate policy considerations. Hopefully this has been helpful to give you some insightful things to be thinking about as you prepare your policy for your organization. If you need help or want to have STG come in and do either an AI assessment or help with your policy review, please reach out. We'd be happy to help. Thank you. Have a great day.
We hope you found value in today's webinar. If you wish to delve deeper into how STG can contribute to the innovation and optimization of your organization, please visit our website at stgconsulting.com for more information. Thank you for being with us today. We wish you a fantastic day ahead.